Hello to you. You are watching Poland Daily Culture, and we are a building next to the royal castle called Tin-Roofed Palace. And here with me is Agnieszka Jędrzejewska-Kurek, a person who will tell us a lot about this fabulous collection of oriental rugs. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. I welcome you at the Tin-Roofed Palace where Prince Józef Poniatowski lived in 18th century. So on the first floor we have the exhibition dedicated to his life. He was a soldier, he was a national hero, and he was the marshal of Napoleon's army.
And how he was connected to our last Polish king, so Stanisław August Poniatowski?
He was a nephew of our last king, Stanisław August, and that palace was a present from the king to his nephew, to Książę Józef, Prince Józef Poniatowski. Great present.
Nice present, exactly. Nice to have a uncle as a king.
Yeah, I think so. And that we have the exhibition on the first floor is absolutely understandable. But I think that when the people are coming to the palace, they are they see unexpected exhibition of the oriental rugs.
Exactly. How did it happen that they got here, that you have them? Because as I understand, it's the biggest public collection of such rugs in Europe. And it's in Warsaw. Not many people know about it. And they are absolutely fabulous, colorful, amazing, come from, as I understand, many countries. How did it happen that we have them here?
Yes, right. They are absolutely wonderful. Just let me tell you about the person whom we are so grateful for this collection. There was a lady, Teresa Sahakian. She was born in Warsaw in 1915. And her name is Sahakian, so it sounds a little bit strange.
Not Polish, definitely.
No, Polish, definitely. So she married Armenian, Georg Sahakian. He was a refugee. He ran away from Armenia, he ran away from Russia, and he stayed in Poland. So he worked at the National Museum like an expert of Oriental art. And he knew languages, a lot of languages. He was a polyglot, and he had his own store with carpets, Persian carpets, in Warsaw. So they married. They worked together in this store. It wasn't for a long time because in 1939 the war began. So they ran away from Warsaw to Vienna, and they took the precious carpets with themselves. They hid them in the small apartment in Vienna, and they took care very much about them. So they stayed for a whole war in Vienna. After the war, they moved to Brussels for good. So they stayed there for the rest of their lives.
So they never came back to Poland to live here, but they were still collecting the rugs, as I understand.
Yes, they start to run the store. First of all, the store in Belgium. Teresa had to learn a lot from her husband. She learned how to weave the carpets, how to repair them. They started traveling a lot and very often to the Middle East. So they started buying carpets and build the collection.
So they were selling some of the carpets and buying new ones for their private collection,
yes,
what they kept.
Yes, so they were working. That was the way to earn the money for them to provide the store, to sell the carpets. But of course, there was a passion. So always when it's the passion, there's something more than money. So they traveling to Middle East, they bought the carpets. So very soon they were recognized like the collectors. But in 1963, Mr. Sahakian died in the car accident. And from this moment, Mrs. Sahakian ran this store and the collection by herself. So she worked very, very hard. And in 1973, she was recognized by the Belgium Chamber of Art and Antiques like an expert. That was very important information for Mrs. Sahakian because she was a real collector.
And how did it happen that, they ended up here in Warsaw? Was it her decision to give it to Royal Castle?
Mrs. Sahakian left Warsaw in 1939, and her first visit after the war, it was in 1970. She came to Warsaw, and from this moment, I think that she starts to thinking where she can exhibit her collection. Because her collection was unique. A lot of museums knocked to her door and tried to convince her to show the collection, the carpets collection, for example, in various places. But she was from Poland, she was from Warsaw, and she knew that the castle and the Warsaw suffered a lot after the war. And very often she was repeated that patriotism is something more than just talking about it, is
and of
to
course,
do something.
It was middle of PRL. So times when I would say everything was so gray and people didn't have really enough, like a lot of money, neither to invest nor to travel. And here comes such a colorful person with a colorful collection of rags. And as I understand, she decided to give it all to the castle.
She first talked to Professor Lorenz, Professor Geistor, and she was looking for a special place because her collection was very, very big. And she wanted to have it all in the same place. So the first part of her collection came to Warsaw in 1987. There was a first big transport with rugs. And she gave us more than 600, but it was in the time, because the last transport with her collection of her art came to Warsaw in 2007. That was 2 years after Mrs. Sahakian's death.
So I would say it's pretty new collection to the palace. So
the collection, like carpets, they are very, very old. They came from 18th, 19th, and 20th century. So for the carpets, they are pretty old. But of course, here in Warsaw, yes, you are right. We have them for 30, 40, 14 years.
Can we tell exactly where they come from? Like from which part, from which region? What's the source of them? Because as I understand, they were both Sahatian couple. They were both traveling on Middle East and buying those who they decided are precious or valuable.
Yes. Mrs. Sahakian, I said, gave us more than 600.
So they are not all exhibit, as I understand?
No. In the one moment, we can just show to our audience something like more than 200. So we are changing this exhibition and trying to show our audience the different carpets from the different region, from different types of the carpets. Most of them came from the Caucasus. They are Caucasian carpets. It's the biggest part of her collection. But we have Persian carpets, we have praying carpets, and very small carpets made by nomads. Maybe I will tell later a little bit about them. But so we have from Caucasus, we have from Iran, from Persia, and we are from Turkey. That's the main corpus of our collection.
Well, it's fabulous and it's very colorful. And I would say that's a message also to you, the audience of Poland Daily. Did you know that there is such kind of collection just next to the royal castle? Not so much connected to our kings, but still beautiful and the biggest in Europe. If no, definitely come here to the small palace and watch it because it's worth knowing, seeing, maybe touching. And thank you very much for watching Poland Daily Culture.